Okay, just deleted everything accidentally. So here we are in the candidate, or not the candidate, sorry, 1960 Making of the President, turn 4. I just ordered the candidate, I think. I keep trying to bid on it. That's a very cool game. Don't bid against me if I'm still in on it somewhere. So what do we have? Well, we've seen a lot of fighting. Try to repeat this. Kennedy's been playing these cards, suburban voters, Catholic support, which add a lot of support points directly into the states. And that's been a very powerful factor. He also jumped in and grabbed some issue support. One of the reasons he did that was a card he had in his hand, the stature gap card. He was afraid Nixon would trump that. He wanted to get at least some issue standing before that got taken, and then he would lose that little war or whatever it is. He'd be at a disadvantage. But I think I'm one token up on Nixon here. Nixon has been able to maintain a parity with largely with what Kennedy did through the Citizens for Nixon Lodge. He's been concentrating, and this gives him +1 campaign points to all his cards that he plays, up to a maximum of 5. And he's been focusing primarily in the East, and you can see he's really cut into that lead that Kennedy has in the East. However, whatever his plan is there, it's not coming to fruition quite yet. We'll see what happens, but so far he hasn't done any major killer blow from that. Now, maybe he's just after those heavy points, but personally I suspect something else. Okay, and I think we're right at the end. We got one more to go. Kennedy concentrated on the Midwest now after letting Nixon have his run in the East. And he used the old Nixon card. Nixon played that, trumped into that, which meant Nixon loses 1 momentum. Well, he had just spent that. And Kennedy loses 3. He only had 2. But it evens the playing field. Seemed like a worthwhile thing. Yeah, it gets rid of a cool card, but, you know, whatever. Now we're on Nixon's turn, and we get to see what Tricky is up to here. And he's playing a momentum card in the East. This is why he was focusing so hard there. And he gets a momentum, and he also will get a chip in every unclaimed location in the East, which is a powerful advantage. And that card gets discarded now. But that was definitely what his play was all about down there. Alright, I'll figure out Kennedy in a moment. Kennedy had to play the Gathering Momentum card in the West. Nixon's going to trump that, and he gets a momentum back, so that ends up breaking even, and then he gets a token in every unclaimed Western state. It's looking like a Nixon landslide right now. And now this card goes away. All Kennedy's holding, well, he's holding the solid South and the Midwest. May be worth more than Nixon's hold in the East and the West. Hard to tell. I am not terribly familiar with the points here. There's a lot in the East, though. But the states in the Midwest are more uniformly large, as are the ones in the South. So it could be a very close race. It just looks really, really ugly to me to see all the Northeast going for Nixon. That's not what you expect. And in the momentum phase, Kennedy had the only issues attached. So he managed to get 2 momentum from that, putting him in the lead in the momentum. And he got an endorsement. Turns out it's in the South. not too helpful to his cause right now. What's worrisome is that Nixon endorsement in the Midwest that could weaken his position, Kennedy's position. So now we go to the campaign strategy phase and we see what they held. Nixon held the Castro card. This would have been a cool card, and he wishes he could have gotten the defense control in order to get the bonus there, but it'll do fine putting some economic support into his debate plan. Over on Kennedy, well, that's a powerful card on the economic side. Granted, it's a useful card to hit Nixon with, Eisenhower refusing to be helpful. And that brings us to the fifth turn. We got one more turn left, and then we go to the debates. So the Nixon player won the initiative, but he chose to go first in order to play this card. Congressional summer session. Kennedy loses 2 CPs off all cards played, down to a minimum of 1, and he has to immediately go to either Maryland or Virginia. That's a major posing, so it seemed worth getting the jump with that. I gotta get rid of these cards, these last turns, Nixon cards. Kennedy drops a gaffe on Nixon, which kills the momentum chit, thereby freeing up whatever cards Kennedy wants to play for CPs, and then grabbing 3 support tokens out of the key state of New York. Now we're seeing why Nixon went for issue dominance rather than trying to protect and take territories. He's got the Northern Blacks card, which gives him, as leader of civil rights, 5 state support in Illinois, Michigan, and New York, no more than 2 per state. So he was able to swing votes over. He's got 2 notes in, yeah, I think I'm going to actually put that extra one there. So he spent 2 each to swing Illinois and Michigan over to the from the Democratic side, and he grabbed New York as well. Since he's there, he can probably defend that a little easier. And Nixon continues to pummel based on the issues. Cold War event gives him 5 more state support, no more than 1 per state. And another powerful card for Nixon. Republican TV slots. He moves to New York. Well, that doesn't really help him. He's already there. But he gets 3 free media support cubes. And I definitely want to put one in the South and one in the Midwest. I'm not quite sure where to put that last one. There's nowhere I really need it. The West is appealing, but I already completely dominate that. I'm going to drop the second one in the Midwest as well, just to help solidify any chance of that. Although the South would be more appealing just because of the dominance that Kennedy already has, but I don't think he can carry states at this point. I don't think he can afford it. So in the momentum phase, we see Kennedy's momentum decreasing. He wasn't able to use his 2 chits, so now he's down to 1. Nixon won in all 3 issues. He took a 3 momentum chits and got an endorsement in the South, which cleared Kennedy's endorsement out of the way. Going on to campaign cards, the campaign strategy. This is the last shot for these. Nixon held on to this. Economics is an issue he's competing in, and that's that's a good, strong card. It wasn't really helpful in his view. And now this can go away. Kennedy held on to primetime television. He had no advertising support, didn't really see a good chance of getting it with his low card counts this turn. So that looks like a reasonable card to just burn in terms of not being a terribly valuable card. Largely the decision on what to put in here, and for my game, has been, oh, that's a good card and it doesn't really help me anywhere near as much as it does. I did put some consideration into the Republican hand. The Democrats holding a couple of defense cards. Economic. So the Democrats are competing on everything. They didn't burn any cards. The Republicans started off with the civil rights card and kind of buried it. And so they've been avoiding putting cards of their own that are civil rights. And that adds an extra element to what they're deciding to do there. Okay, and then once I get the minimal number of rest tokens that I have, 2 each, I don't know if I'm... Looks like big cards are a fault here. And into the bag. Then we go on to the debates. And given the length of this video, I think that should be the start of the next one.